Decades ago, I started growing food in my front and backyard, and I realized that my mission in life is to inspire and empower others to grow their own nutrient-dense, healthy organic food. Because of this, a lot of people have come to me with their gardening questions over the years, and that got me thinking, what if we put together a community that would help budding gardeners blossom? So I finally made the idea a reality with my Urban Farm U member program. Each month, your membership includes 3 live online events, a monthly class, a chit-chat with an expert, and a monthly coaching session, plus access to the experts on our member page and a significant discount on our signature courses. I'm deeply committed to transforming our global food system, and I do this by empowering you to grow your own food. The Urban Farm membership program is a simple way to get going. Please join me in transforming your food system today. To learn more, go to urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444. That's urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444.
You're listening to the Urban Farm Podcast, your partner in the Grow Your Own Food revolution. Whether you've just been introduced to urban farming or you're a lifelong advocate, we're sure you'll leave feeling more informed, equipped, and empowered to dig deeper into the soil of your local food economy. With you every step of the way, here's your host, Greg Peterson.
Today on the Urban Farm Podcast, we have Becca Moore of Simply Quaint Homestead to talk about her experience with starting a homestead. Becca lives in northeastern Pennsylvania with her husband and 7 children. She loves to garden, preserve her own food, spend time with her family, and she's an aspiring homesteader. She hopes to own a slew of chickens and maybe even a goat. Becca has started her own homestead and created a blog on her experiences to help others who hope to make the journey as well. Her specialty is gardening and home canning and believes they go hand in hand. She says, if you can grow enough of your own food, you're able to home can enough to make it through the winter. Welcome to the show today, Becca.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Glad that you are here. So I shared a bit about you. Can you fill in the blanks for us and share more about the path you took to get where you're at now?
Yeah, it started a lot when I was younger. My grandparents had owned a farm, and my grandfather had, harvested, and I learned a lot of that off of him. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother had home canned everything, made everything from scratch, and
nice.
There was hardly ever a trip to the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
So, she lived less than a mile from where my parents lived. So I grew up there and in that environment and around my grandfather and around my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I was able to learn, a lot from them. And as I got older, my uncles, had gardens, and I learned off of them how to garden. Mm-hmm. And from my husband. My husband has been a big teacher for me, and I have learned from him as well. And
nice.
We've just gone with it, and it's become a way of life, and life is very simple now.
Love that. So Simply Quaint Homestead, that's your farm or homestead, correct?
Yes.
So tell us about it. And actually, before you tell us about it, how did you come up and why did you name your farm?
I named it because we're actually on a very small piece of land. Mm-hmm. We share a lot with my aunt and my uncle, and they own 1.5 acres of land, mm-hmm. and they allotted us about 1/4 of an acre.
Oh, wow.
Now, where we live, our borough does not allow us to have chickens or goats or any kind of livestock.
Oh, my gosh.
Even rabbits outside are considered livestock.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a small 700-foot square garden that we grow as much as we possibly can to, shoulder our costs from the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
And we've cut corners, and we figured out that if we wanted to own rabbits, well, we could do that inside.
Oh, yes.
So we raise our rabbits inside, and they're purely, they're pets, but they're also useful because we can use them for in the garden.
Oh, yes.
But because we're such a small area here, it's simple and it's quaint. It's nice, and that's why I named it Simply Quaint Homestead. It's nice.
Can you tell us? Go ahead.
I can share what we produce up here with my aunt and my uncle. And that makes it even extra nice.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I'd like you to, if you don't mind sharing, why did you choose to name your homestead? Like, what's the thought process behind, I got to name my place?
I think the main reason why I did it was so that I could share with others. I could get a website and I could share with others that you don't need to have acres and acres. You don't need to have cows. You don't need to have goats. You don't even need to have chickens to have a homestead. You can have a homestead even if you live in an apartment in the city. And I wanted people to see that small areas of land, are very accepting of being able to homestead.
So what is your definition of homesteading?
I think it's a way of thinking. It's your mindset. It's how you raise your own food. You don't need to have a huge garden to raise your own food. If you're living in an apartment, you're already probably a small family. So you can container garden on your balcony. You don't need to plow acres of land to have a homestead. You can choose a healthier way of life, making sure that, what you're eating is not full of pesticides and insecticides and all of that, and making everything, homemade, from scratch. You can ensure that you're not getting a lot of the toxins that are out there. And I think that's the definition of a homesteader, is self-sufficiency, doing things as much as you can for yourself without depending on other people who are being paid to do it for you.
Right. Beautifully said. So what made you go from a grocery shopper to a home grower?
Part of it was I realized it was cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
And,
yes, it is, isn't it?
With 7 children, you have to budget. You can't just go blow $300-400 in the grocery store in a week. That was the beginning of it. Was I was looking for a cheaper way to feed my family without feeding them a lot of junk. It's healthier, because I know what's in my food. I know who processed the food. I know who touched the food. I know where it's coming from. And that's the 2 main reasons why I went from buying all my fruits and vegetables in a grocery store to trying to grow all my own or buy from a farmer's market so I could home can. And it's just a cycle, every year we plant a garden and we go to the farmer's market and we can our food. And we make sure that we buy our meat from the meat market, the local meat market, not from the grocery store. Right. Because then we're sure we know where the meat's coming from.
Yeah.
And, we keep everything locally and everything small. And I think that's a big key in homesteading in itself.
It's not a thing to do. It seems to me it's more like a way of life, yes?
Absolutely. That's 100% correct. It's all about, your way of thinking and putting one foot in front of the other and doing what's best for you and your family.
Yeah. What do you got growing right now that you're going to be canning in the next month or 2?
Oh, well, I have a ton of tomatoes.
Oh, nice. Yes, of course.
I truly didn't think they were going to make it. I really didn't think my garden was going to make it this year.
Oh, wow.
And I went out a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this garden. We have I think it's 11 tomato plants. And they are just full. They're full of all these tomatoes. And my green peppers are already producing. We've already been able to pick and use some of them. Our strawberries didn't do too good this year. We had a little pest get in there and eat all of them but 2. But and my cabbages, we moved them back towards the garage a little bit this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, nah, they're never going to make it. They don't look good. And I went out 2 nights ago, and what do you know? We got cabbages coming through. So
Nice.
we're doing good this year.
Nice. That's that's always a bonus when we have a garden growing and maybe a step away, go out of town for a week and come back, and all of a sudden, ta-da! Everything's growing and
it's a great sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
When you do something like that for yourself and your family, and you start to succeed at it, it's a huge sense of accomplishment. We even have apple trees on the property.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's great come the fall. I can a lot of applesauce. I can apple pie filling. And I don't have to go to a store. I don't have to go to the farmer's market. I just send the kids out with bags and buckets, and they go out and they get the apple picker, and they pick the apples, and I process them up, and we end up with a ton of applesauce.
Nice. So here in the desert, I don't know if you know, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
We have apple trees in the front yard here at the Urban Farm, and it's July, and all of the apples have been harvested and processed already. So we get our apples.
Wow.
We get our apples in June. And one of the things that I absolutely love to do with apples is make apple chips, where you dehydrate them.
Yes.
Have you ever tried that?
I have not. I do have a dehydrator, and it sits there, and I keep looking at it. But
oh my gosh, they're wonderful. James is the editor of the Urban Farm podcast, and he's sitting here vigorously shaking his head. Yes, I love apple chips. They're so easy. All I do is I take the apples and I slice them up, usually in about 1/4-inch slices, and stick them in the dehydrator and just let them go.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a beautiful way to do apples.
Well, maybe I'll try that this year.
Good. So where would you like to see your homestead in 5 years?
Well, I'd like to not be here. I would like to go, and my husband and I have thrown around Missouri. We've talked about Tennessee, and we've talked about Montana. And we would like 20 plus acres. We'd like to grow, full-fledged homesteading. We'd like chickens. I'd love a cow. It would be worth it for us to have a cow. With how much milk my children drink and the amount of cream that cows produce, we would really benefit from having a cow. And we've talked about goats. We've talked about goats as well. But I would like to see us grow. I would like to see, not just one 700-square-foot garden. I would like to see us have 10 700-square-foot gardens.
Yeah.
It would be really nice to see us prosper that way and be able to move towards that, in the future.
Beautiful. So what's your favorite part of homesteading?
Being able to do it with my family. This is something that
yes.
all of us, absolutely. All of us get to come together, and the kids enjoy it. They get to go out there, and when it's time to get the garden ready for the season, everybody's ready to get out there and get dirty. None of them mind getting dirt on their fingernails.
Yeah.
And even as the garden's growing, we still do it as a family. We water the garden as a family. When it's time to pick anything, we all go out there together. And we get excited. The kids will go outside to play, and they'll notice that there's new fruit or new vegetables, in the garden. They come running in. Mom, you got new tomatoes, or, your cabbages are starting. Then we have strawberries. Can I have a strawberry? And they enjoy it. And then, later, when you've home canned that food, and you're watching your family eat what you grew together and you made together.
Yeah.
It's a really good feeling, to see, the family come together and do it. And, you hope that your children will pick it up too when they get older.
Yeah. Well, I think it definitely leaves a lasting impression.
Absolutely.
I know it did for you, and I know it did for me. So.
Yes.
So how can others homestead when they have little or no land?
Well, the first thing I think they should do is they need to decide what they want to do. Do they just want to be able to grow fruits and vegetables for the family? Do they want to go further? Do they want to see if their city or the borough allows them to have livestock? They have to have a plan of what they want to do. And, most places are not against the fact that you garden in containers on your balcony if you live in an apartment. If you don't have much land, you can container garden out in your driveway. You don't have to, you don't have to have a lot of land to do it. And just, figure out what you want to do and take those steps. Talk to your family, talk to your spouse, find out who's willing to pitch in, who's, going to give you a hard time. And you can home can your own food. Even if you don't grow it, you can go to a farmer's market, and that's even healthier than buying from the grocery store.
Right.
And that's what they can do to be able to do what we're doing. Like I mentioned before, we're on a 1/4 acre, and we're doing good.
Yay! So, someone interested in learning more about homesteading, where do they go?
Well, they can get online, and you can go to my website, Simply Quaint Homestead, and you can learn there. You can learn by going to your website, The Urban Farm. There's a lot of information online about homesteading, and even if you don't want the whole package and you just want to grow a garden, just put in gardening, and you can put in plant dates, your area, and it'll tell you what zone you're in and what you can plant and what you can't plant. And I think for people who have to container garden, their options are even a little bit more wide open because they don't have to worry about soil temperature or the pH in the soil. Everything's kind of right there.
Right.
And their options are a little bit more open than, even us, who have gardens in the ground.
Yeah.
And there's so much that they can learn online, I have learned so much online that I didn't know before, especially when it came to canning.
Oh, yeah.
And, there is a lot of information out there.
Cool. So tell us about your blog, simplyquainthomestead.com.
Yeah, I started it a while ago. We updated some things and changed some things around and made it a little bit more personal about what we were learning and experiencing rather than it being a how-to. Because not everybody wants to see about a how-to. There's a lot of that out there. A lot of people just want to hear what your experiences are. And we've tried to do that. We've tried to update it, that people can see this is, very achievable. It can be accomplished. And we try to make it very personal, with our readers. We want to have conversations with our readers. We want to help our readers out. And I think our blog does that. I think it really connects with people who are either learning or just starting. That's who we really direct our blog towards is somebody who's just starting out because there's a lot of information out there, but it's not personal.
Right.
And I like to make it personal and connect with my readers.
Yeah, perfect. So why do you think growing and raising your own food is so important?
I think the health factor, is very, very important. I think we should be educated and know what is in our food. And I don't think that I can go to the store and buy a can of green beans and be as trustworthy as what's in that can of green beans, as opposed to the green beans that I pick out of my garden.
Yeah.
I know who has touched my food. I know who has prepared my food, and I know what's in that food.
Yeah.
And that's important. We shouldn't be blind to that. We should be very, very educated upon what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to shift on you a little bit, and I'd like to talk about a time you failed, how you overcame that failure, and what you might have learned from it.
Oh, canning.
Canning. Yes. All right.
Yes. I didn't start canning until last year.
Oh, wow.
I was afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, everything that I have been taught was an older way. So I wasn't sure it was safe, and I didn't really look into it, and it seemed complicated to me. And the first time that I tried, I went gung-ho, and I tried everything out of my canning book.
Oh, my gosh.
Everything that I could. It may have only been 3-4 jars, but I tried. And then I got a little rebellious and decided I was going to try things that weren't in my canning book.
Uh-oh.
And those things turned into a disaster for me. You just can't, at least I don't think so. A lot of people do it, but I don't think you can just come up with a recipe and stick it in a jar.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You have to know what you're doing. And I didn't know what I was doing last year. I ended up throwing away a lot of food, which became a big waste. And I learned from that I need to learn. It wasn't really that I failed. I just didn't do it the way it probably should have been done.
Yeah.
And I learned that, I needed to follow the recipes and stuff, and I needed to learn what canning was all about to get it right. And this year, I decided I was going to do strawberry jam, and it came I didn't want to use pectin, and I was so afraid it was going to end up this big failure, and I was going to end up with strawberry syrup. And it came out perfect.
Wow.
It was I found the recipe, I found how to make it without pectin, and I did what it said, and it came out great. And that was a big learning curve for me. I had to learn I couldn't just do things on my own. I had to go to people who knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. I recently had Jessica Piper from Ball Canning Jars on the show.
Oh, yes.
And it was an amazing interview. And the number one thing she said to do was follow the recipe. Find a recipe that works and follow the recipe. She said you'll have more failures if you don't, and you'll have virtually 100% success if you do.
She is 100% correct.
Yeah.
And it's their book, it's their Ball Canning book that I follow.
Oh, my gosh. It's an amazing book.
I don't follow anybody else's canning recipes. It's only Ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was show number 105, and that came out. Yeah, that came out on July 19th. So if you're interested in talking canning and listening about canning, that's where that show is at.
I will go check that out. That's great.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Also, you mentioned pectin, and first of all, you gave me an idea for a future show because I had forgotten about Pomona's Universal Pectin. Do you know about Pomona's Pectin?
No, I do not.
It's a natural-based pectin, and all the products in it are natural, and it's a great product. It's called Pomona's Universal Pectin, and I saw it interestingly recently at Whole Foods. So yeah, it's widely available out there.
I will have to look that up.
Check that out.
I don't trust the pectin I buy in the store.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I know them over at Pomona's, and I've been working with them for, 15, 20 years, and I've used their product for 15 or 20 years. So,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So what do you consider your biggest success?
My biggest success, I would say that my children have really embraced what we do. They're very accepting of it, and it was a switch for them because years ago this wasn't our lifestyle. And now it is in the last couple of years, and they will tell me, "Mommy, your jam is better than the store." Or,
oh my God, what could be better than that, right?
Exactly. I have to hide my green peppers when I bring them in the house because I'll catch my 8-year-old. She'll eat them like they're an apple. and I have to hide them because otherwise I don't have them to cook with.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So,
wow.
Bobby, and that's a huge success, when you see your family, wanting your food over going to McDonald's. That's big success.
Yeah. Well, I throw this out occasionally. Whenever talking about kids, I have found over and over and over again, if you get them growing it, no matter what it is, if they grow it, they're going to eat it.
And that is true. I grew up with it, and I kind of got away from it for a while. I was a mom. I had a career. I went the easy way. It's easier to go to the store and open up a jar of spaghetti sauce and pour it on your spaghetti. It's very easy to do that. But I went back to my old ways. I went back to what I was taught, and I couldn't be happier.
Nice. So what drives you?
Again, it's my family. They really make me get up every morning and put one foot in front of the other. And whenever I'm doing anything, for them, and when I make their meals, or we're about ready to try out a new homemade laundry detergent, and I know that I'm doing the best things for them. That really makes me put one foot in front of the other and drives me forward to want to do this. And self-sufficiency is a big thing as well, not depending on other people to do what I can do for myself. That's a huge thing for me.
Wow, nice. So you said homemade detergent, did you not?
Yeah.
Ooh, tell us a little bit about that, would you?
I did. I had gone to, I hope this is okay, I had gone to a website called theprairiehomestead.com. And she has so much information on there, and, I'm looking for better ways to do things and, healthier ways, cheaper ways. And she had on there about homemade laundry detergent.
Nice.
And I've always read that the powdered stuff that you make at home is not good for septic systems, so I had never made it before.
Right.
Well, Jill, she had a liquid one on there.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this is great. And it's really simple, It's a bar of soap, and I bought the cast iron soap. And it's bar soap, and it's washing soda and borax and water, and a little bit of essential oil, whatever you choose that you want.
Right.
And I'll have it up on my website once we do it and try it out. But that's all it is. You put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and you can either scoop it out of the bucket, or you can pour it into a detergent bottle that you had from before, or a glass bottle. Glass would be better than plastic, I think.
Yeah.
And you just put a quarter cup in. And when it comes down to it, it's like you pay like $4 for a gallon of homemade laundry detergent.
Wow.
It's super cheap. You pay over $20.
I know.
For a big jug at the grocery store. When you can make it at home with better products, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, you'll have to report back to us how that went.
Absolutely.
So I am all about education, and I have to know, what has been the best way for you to learn?
For me, it was learning from my grandparents. They went through the Depression era, and the times when people just didn't have, a lot of funds to be able to have the things they wanted. So it became a thing about you did what you needed to do. And my grandparents were very family oriented. My grandfather died when I was young, but my grandmother, she was really the knit that held the family together. And I spent a lot of time with her because we lived so close to her. My mom went down there every day. And I spent from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night with my grandma. And sitting on the table and watching her can or make wilted lettuce in the cast iron skillet that I now have.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and it was her mother. So it's my great-grandmother's cast iron skillet. And,
wow.
Being a part of that, and it's great memories, and it has stuck with me. I learned a lot from my grandma.
Yeah. Nice. So what one final piece of advice do you have for our listeners?
Just if this is what you want to do, find out the best, easiest way that it'll work for you, and get up tomorrow morning, put one foot in front of the other, make a plan, and do it. Because it's not gonna just happen. You have to make it happen. And by getting up and making that list and saying, okay, this is what's important to me, and this is what I have to do to make it happen. So you know what? We're going to make it happen. And that's my best piece of advice, is just get up and do it.
Just do it.
Yes.
No pun intended. Well, thank you.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing your experience with us today, Becky. It has been a treat. Absolutely.
I have really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Absolutely. So how can our listeners get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to my website. Again, it's simplyquainthomestead.com. They can also email me at Becca@simplyquainthomestead.com. I'm on Facebook under the same name. I have Twitter as well.
Perfect.
And I'm on Pinterest. You know, I'm pretty much spread all over. So,
oh, nice.
You know,
I haven't played with Pinterest yet, so.
Oh, it's fun. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, but I just don't need one more thing right now. So.
Yeah, I know.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on the Urban Farm Podcast. Decades ago, I started growing food in my front and backyard, and I realized that my mission in life is to inspire and empower others to grow their own nutrient-dense, healthy organic food. Because of this, a lot of people have come to me with their gardening questions over the years, and that got me thinking, what if we put together a community that would help budding gardeners blossom? So I finally made the idea a reality with my Urban Farm U member program. Each month, your membership includes 3 live online events, a monthly class, a chit-chat with an expert, and a monthly coaching session, plus access to the experts on our member page and a significant discount on our signature courses. I'm deeply committed to transforming our global food system, and I do this by empowering you to grow your own food. The Urban Farm membership program is a simple way to get going. Please join me in transforming your food system today. To learn more, go to urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444. That's urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen 3 days a week for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.